I'm going to show you how I process my audio to go from being flat to getting consistent work. A couple of them are very obvious but often over-ignored, and the last few are game-changing if you're not already doing them. Your room. Your room is going to be the factor that lands you your audition. Doesn't matter if your room is too loud, too noisy, too boxy, or too roomy. You're not going to be able to land a professional audition. I'm not going to show you exactly how to do it now. I made a great video about it. I'll leave it in the description below, but watch it after because number 2 is almost just as important as your room. Mic placement. Your microphone is an instrument. Think of it as like you're talking to your best friend. The closer that you are to it, the more intimate that recording is actually going to sound. Here's a basic rule of thumb for you. Make a cowabunga hand. Your mouth should be here. Your microphone should be at least this far away. And what you want to do is put that microphone off axis. So if I'm speaking directly into it, my air is going to hit that microphone. It's going to cause plosives and a lot of noise. Put it slightly off, and now it's still going to be picking up my audio because that's the lobe of sensitivity, and it's not going to be causing all of those issues. Okay, a couple things that I'm going to speed run through that I always had questions as a beginner, and that I know most people will. Breaths. If you have breaths in your recording, go ahead and leave them in unless you've been told by your client that they want them removed. 9 times out of 10, it's going to make everything sound more realistic. The only time you would remove them is if they're actually actively annoying and getting in the way of the audio recording. Also keep in mind, this depends on the type of recording that you're making. If you've got 30 seconds to 45 seconds for a radio ad spot, you're going to want to remove those sounds. Yes, it might sound a little weird to you, but in context of the radio ad, it's going to sound just fine. That's number 1. Number 2, mouth noises. What you can do, hydrate properly before a session, eat a green apple, that's going to help a little bit. You can do neck rolls. Now I'm talking very gentle neck rolls to help relieve some of the pressure, or you can do 3 to 5 minutes of tongue twisters. All of these things are going to help alleviate the problems of mouth noise. If you still have them, make sure to edit them out. Mouth noises do not sound good and they don't help anybody. Plugins. Should you use plugins when it comes to making your audition? No and yes. What I mean by that is generally you can use plugins as long as they are enhancing the overall project but not changing your voice. Are you going to use voice changing plugins? No. Are you going to use reverb plugins? No. Can you use light cleanup plugins? Yes. Can you use EQ? Absolutely. Last but not least, here's the shining gem that you've all been waiting for. When I was in audio engineering school, I learned a very weird thing, and that is loudness sounds better. Long story short, frequency is not an evenly heard spectrum, and when you have something that is louder, it allows it to sound more full because those frequencies are in turn louder. Now that does not mean just turning up your actual audio file. It will sound awful. I use a loudness plugin. That's the Wave Loudness Meter. It allows me not only to turn up that actual loudness evenly without adding any distortion, but it also allows me to monitor it so I know that I'm not blowing anybody on the other side of this away. And last but not least, the last little hidden gem, EQ. EQ is very important because not every microphone sounds the same. Some microphones are very muddy on their lower end, or they have an overhyped high-end presence, and that can end up making your voice sound very annoying and very tingy. And what you want to do is learn how to properly apply EQ so that you can make your voice sound the way that it should be represented. Now, I'm not going to go over that today. That can be a whole video series on its own. So subscribe so that you can see that video series later in the month. All right, catch you guys later.